Many years ago, there were no lights in Roanoke, Virginia. Only fire, and the space beyond it. Settlers came there thinking land could be owned, that homes could stay. I know better now. When the ships returned, the colony was gone. No bodies, no blood. Just a word carved into wood, Croatoan. I ran my fingers across it the way they must have, wondering if it was a warning, or a direction. I slept where they slept. I heard footsteps that did not reach the firelight. If they were taken, they didn't fight. If they left together. That's what scared me the most. Because in the dark, survival isn't loud, it's quiet. And when people disappear out here, the night keeps them. It's a silence that stretches for miles. A quiet so deep it feels like it has weight. They say over 100 people vanished. Men, women, children, gone, as if the land just swallowed them whole. It makes you wonder what kind of deal was made in the shadow. What price was paid for a moment of peace? Or was it something else entirely? Did they simply walk away from everything they knew, into something unknown? Perhaps they found a new home, a new life, far from the world that sent them here. Or perhaps they found nothing at all. The truth is a ghost in the trees, and the trees don't talk, they just watch. Every rustle of leaves could be a footstep. Every shadow could be a figure standing just out of sight. You start to see patterns in things that aren't there, and you learn not to trust your own eyes. The loneliness out here is a physical thing. It's a cold that gets into your bones, a cold the fire can't touch. And you begin to understand why a group of people might choose to walk into the dark together. Sometimes, the fear of being alone is worse than the fear of what's waiting in the dark. The snow doesn't stop, it just waits. They thought winter could be outrun. I thought that too. Food ran out before hope did. That was the mistake. I've learned, hunger changes the sound of a human voice. It lowers it, makes it careful. They didn't start as monsters, they started as families. Each night, someone didn't wake up. Each morning, fewer prayers were spoken. When survival becomes the only law, morality freezes first. I count my rations the way they did. I avoid thinking about tomorrow. Because winter doesn't kill you all at once. It teaches you what you're capable of. One choice at a time. The cold is relentless. It seeps through every layer of clothing, every crack in the shelter. You forget what it feels like to be warm. Your thoughts slow down, become simple. Food, fire, sleep. Anything more complex feels like a luxury you can't afford. They say that when the first person died, they buried them in the snow. They held a service. They tried to hold on to the world they came from. But the snow kept falling, and the hunger grew louder. It's a sound that starts in your stomach and slowly takes over your mind. It rewrites your history, your loyalties, your very sense of self. There were people who had dreams, people who loved each other. There were doctors, farmers, mothers, fathers. But the mountains didn't care about that. The cold doesn't negotiate. You can see the desperation in the journals they left behind. The entries get shorter. The handwriting gets shakier. The polite language of society gives way to the raw, guttural need to live for one more day. And you'll realize, sitting here in the biting wind, that the line between civilization and savagery is thinner than a blanket of fresh snow. It's a line that can be crossed with a single, desperate decision made in the heart of an unforgiving winter. The real horror isn't what happened to them. It's what they became. And the scariest part is knowing that under the right circumstances, anyone could follow them down that path. Have you ever noticed how fear spreads faster in the dark? Not just any darkness, but the kind that flickers, the kind that dances with candlelight. In places like Salem, back in 1692, that flickering light revealed more than just faces. It reveals suspicion. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? I try to imagine what it was like, watching neighbors measure each other with their eyes, constantly searching for signs. Any sign, a misplaced word, a glance held too long. That's how it started for them. A simple word whispered in confidence, a name spoken just a little too loudly in the market square. Suddenly, accusation became the best form of protection. If you point a finger first, no one points one at you. And silence. Silence became an admission of guilt. If you didn't join the chorus of accusers, you must have something to hide. It's a terrifying social trap. They prayed while they condemned, their voices rising in pious fervor as they pointed at their friends, their family. They cried with what seemed like genuine sorrow while they tied the rope, convinced they were doing God's work by purging the devil from their town. If I were there, I think I would keep my head down. I'd speak little, maybe only in short, safe answers. Because in places like Salem, in times of mass hysteria, innocence doesn't matter. What matters is who gets scared first. And fear, once you give it permission, once you let it take root in a community, it never, ever stops accusing. It just looks for its next victim. It's a fire that feeds on whispers and burns through reason, leaving only ashes and regret. The real horror of Salem wasn't the witches, it was what ordinary people were capable of when they were afraid. Now, let's step forward a couple of centuries. To Chicago in the late 1800s. Imagine a building that, at first glance, feels perfectly ordinary, maybe a bit grand, a hotel for the World's Fair. This is the house that killed quietly, the infamous murder castle of H.H. Holmes. This house doesn't feel wrong when you first walk in, and that's the trick, the ultimate deception. It's a labyrinth designed by a predator. You might walk down a hallway and find it's a dead end. You might enter a room and discover the door doesn't open from the inside. There are staircases that lead absolutely nowhere. Holmes, the architect of this nightmare, called it efficiency, a streamlined process. I call it a terrifying, calculated patience. Think about the people who came here, travelers, job seekers, people full of hope and excitement for the World's Fair. They came to this house trusting that four walls would protect them, that a locked door would keep them safe. But they vanished without a sound, swallowed by the very structure meant to be their sanctuary. If I were to walk through a recreation of that place, I would walk so carefully. I would be constantly counting the exits, mapping my escape route. Because this story teaches us a valuable lesson. Evil doesn't always chase you down a dark alley with a weapon. Sometimes, it's much more subtle. Sometimes, it builds a cage around you, piece by piece, so slowly you don't even notice. And once you finally realize the house itself is watching you, that the walls are closing in, it's already too late. The architect has already decided where you'll end. It's a different kind of fear, not of hysteria, but of cold, meticulous, inescapable design. From the madness of crowds to the mind of a single, evil man, history is full of these dark corners. They remind us that the most frightening monsters are often the ones who look just like us. Silence is heavier than chains in the Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Between the years of 1829 to 1971, they said solitude would save the soul. Instead, it erased it. In the Eastern State Penitentiary, silence was the sentence. For years, the only sound was the rustle of a guard's shoe, the slide of a food tray through a slot in the door. They believed that without the corruption of other voices, a man could find his own conscience. But what happens when the only voice you hear starts to lie? Men spoke to walls until the walls answered back. They paced their cells, 8 feet by 12 feet, until the floor wore down to their footprints. Some forgot their own names, their faces in the mirror becoming as strangers. I stand in one of those cells now, and the quiet is a physical weight. I understand why the screams eventually stopped. After a while, your own thoughts stop sounding like yours. The echo becomes the only company, and it's a cruel one. Isolation doesn't need cruelty to break a person. Just time. And here, time was all they had. Next, we have the Belfarb, Robertson County, Tennessee in the early 1800s. Something lived there that could not sleep. A place where a family was tormented by a voice without a body. It knew their names, it knew their secrets, whispering them aloud for everyone to hear. They prayed for deliverance. It answered their prayers with mockery. I walked through the rooms where it happened, where a future president, Andrew Jackson, came to witness the phenomena and left terrified. The story goes his men were attacked, his wagon wheels locked by an unseen force. I can almost hear it now, a soft, amused sound in the corner of the room, waiting for me to react. That's what it wanted then, and that's what the air here feels like now, a stage waiting for a performer. Witnesses came, officials listened, but no one could make it leave. Some places aren't haunted, they're occupied, and the tenant has never given up its lease. Our next, eerie, pivotal journey started with footprints leading uphill into the snow. That's the first wrong thing. This is the trail of the Yuba County 5 of California in the first 2 months of 1978. 5 young men, friends, driving home from a basketball game. They took a turn up a winding mountain road, a road they knew to avoid in winter. Their car was found abandoned but in perfect working order. No signs of a struggle. The real mystery began 13 miles deeper into the forest, in a trailer stocked with enough food and fuel to last a year. The food was untouched. The shelter was unused. 4 of them were eventually found, miles apart, having succumbed to the elements. One was never seen again. I follow the path where their tracks were found, and the forest goes completely quiet. No birds, no wind, just the crunch of my own feet. Whatever happened here didn't rush them. That's what keeps me awake at night, because panic leaves evidence. Calm does not. These things happened before the lights were on everywhere, and some nights, in some places, they still aren't. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more stories from a time when survival whispered and the dark listened.